They didn't just betray you, they studied you first. They learned your softness, your loyalty, your hunger to belong. They smiled when you spoke, memorized the cracks in your armor, then drove the knife through them one by one. It wasn't random, it was art. You stood there stunned, trying to make sense of how quickly warmth turned to venom, how familiar hands became executioners. The air felt heavier that day, like the room itself wanted to swallow your name and erase your existence. You laughed it off in public, but your soul knew it had been marked. That's when the world stopped feeling human. That's when everything began. They left you standing in the open, stripped of dignity, surrounded by faces that once swore they'd die for you. Their silence was louder than any insult. You waited for someone to defend you, but all you got was that sickening sound, laughter disguised as pity. You tried to hold your ground, but humiliation burns deeper than pain. It stains, it teaches. Every heartbeat after that became a countdown to something darker. Not revenge, but awareness, the kind that changes your blood. You didn't realize it then, but that moment was your funeral and your birth in the same breath. The old you died, the one who needed approval gone, the one who sought mercy buried. Nights got longer after that. Sleep wasn't rest anymore, it was war. Your mind replayed their words, their smirks, their comfort, and your collapse. You wanted to forget, but betrayal leaves fingerprints inside your thoughts. You started seeing faces differently, not people, but patterns, masks, strategy. Every smile became a test, every promise a trap. You stopped believing in coincidence. You started believing in silence, because silence, unlike people, never lies. And when you finally stopped pleading for explanations, something inside you shifted. You didn't want to heal. You wanted to see clearly. You started walking slower, listening longer, thinking sharper. Pain rewired your instincts. It stripped the illusion of safety and replaced it with precision. You learned that mercy is a luxury, and trust is a currency that only fools spend freely. The same people who buried you began to forget your name, but you didn't forget their shadows. You studied their patterns like a scholar studies scripture. You became fluent in deceit, not to use it, but to detect it. Now when you move differently. You don't rush, you don't explain, you watch. You let others speak first because silence exposes truth faster than words. And when they look at you now, something in their eyes flickers. Recognition or fear, you can't tell. Maybe both. They thought they ended you that day. But what they really did was forge you in betrayal, in blood, in silence. And that should terrify them. The fall doesn't happen all at once. It begins quietly, like a candle dying in a locked room. You stop hearing from people. The phone doesn't light up anymore. Conversations fade into silence, and the same voices that once swore loyalty now echo with absence. They don't betray you with words. They betray you with indifference. That's how the world works. No explosions. Just the slow suffocation of being forgotten while you're still breathing. You start noticing details you missed before. The way their laughter feels too loud, too rehearsed, like they're celebrating something you can't see. Maybe they are. Maybe it's your disappearance. You try to stay busy. You tell yourself it's temporary. But the mirror doesn't lie. You can see it. The exhaustion behind your eyes. The hollow smile that doesn't even convince you anymore. You stopped sleeping right. Nights stretch long, each hour louder than the one before. There's no comfort in the dark, only the reminder that no one's coming. And that truth hits like a blade. You remember how you used to beg for understanding. How you tried to explain your pain to people who only listened so they could use it later. They didn't just walk away. They took pieces of you when they left. The world outside moves on. Seasons change, names trend, new stories replace old ones. You used to care. Now you don't even check. You start living in quiet patterns. Wake, work, disappear. You become a shadow among the living, unseen but still watching. You notice how everyone talks loud to hide their fear of silence. You don't. You let the silence crush you until you understand it, until you become it. The world thinks silence is weakness. It isn't. It's preparation. You begin to see everything differently. Betrayal stops feeling personal. It starts feeling strategic, an unspoken ritual meant to strip you bare until only the truth remains. That truth is brutal. No one is loyal to your pain but you. The ones who promised forever were temporary lessons in disguise. The ones who hurt you most taught you how to stop bleeding in public. And the one who suffered, he's gone. What's left is colder, quieter, smarter. You don't chase apologies anymore. You don't explain your absence. You let your absence explain you. They think you vanished. You didn't. You descended. Deep beneath the noise, you built stillness into armor. You learned the language of patience, the kind that breaks clocks and bends time around your will. Every hour alone became a ritual, every scar a silent scripture. They think you're done, but you're not. You're observing, calculating, waiting. The fall wasn't your end. It was your initiation. And the world has no idea what's about to rise from its silence. You stare into the mirror, and for the first time, it doesn't look back. What you see isn't you. It's the echo of every betrayal, every humiliation, every night you begged the world to notice your worth. That reflection carries the weight of the weak version you kept alive for too long, the one who forgave too easily, the one who mistook pity for love. You study the hollow beneath your eyes, the quiet fury in your jawline, and you realize this is not what losing looks like. This is what resurrection feels like before it becomes legend. The silence in the room is heavier than noise. It presses against your chest, forcing you to breathe slower, deeper, like someone preparing for war. You whisper words no one else can hear, truths that cut sharper than any knife. You were too kind to people who would have celebrated your fall. You were too patient with those who mistook your silence for weakness. You remember their laughter, how it used to slice through your skin, and how now it only fuels your pulse. Every memory that once hurt you becomes a tool in your hands, raw material for something lethal. You lift your head, and your reflection shifts, not softer, colder. The eyes that once searched for validation now burn with calculation. You no longer seek comfort, you study patterns. You watch how people move, how they lie, how they smile when they want something. You learn to weaponize calm. The mirror becomes your teacher, your executioner, your forge. It doesn't show beauty. It shows blueprints of survival. It tells you that every scar has geometry, every heartbreak an equation. Pain is not chaos, it's design. You just never looked long enough to see the symmetry in it. Somewhere deep down, the voice that used to beg for mercy goes quiet. In its place, something older wakes up, something that remembers hunger, storms, and conquest. You realize power isn't loud. It's not in shouting or proving. It's in patience, in the ability to wait longer than anyone else without breaking. You used to run from loneliness. Now you understand it's the highest form of discipline. Because when you are truly alone, no one can manipulate your reflection. No one can rewrite your truth. You stare again, and the mirror finally speaks without words. It shows you who you were and who you've become, and between those two faces lies the battlefield of your evolution. You don't hate the old you bury them with ceremony. You thank them for bleeding, for bending, for breaking, because their ruin built your throne. The light flickers, your shadow stretches, and the air feels electric, like the calm before something unstoppable. You don't smile, you don't need to. The mirror has already bowed. You stop waiting for mercy. The world made it clear. It rewards the ruthless, not the hopeful. The mornings come without comfort, only the sound of your own breath cutting through the silence. There are no witnesses now, no audience left to impress. Just you and the grind, the repetition, the blood in your mouth that tastes like truth. You move differently now. Precision has replaced passion. You no longer chase dreams. You hunt them piece by piece in the cold light before dawn. The pain that used to paralyze you has turned into rhythm. Each failure replayed in your mind like a war chant. You remember their faces, the ones who doubted, the ones who smiled as you fell. And instead of hate, you feel calculation. You study their cruelty like a surgeon studies anatomy. Every scar becomes data. Every sleepless night, a new blueprint. The grind strips away illusions until only what's real remains: hunger, discipline, and the kind of silence that frightens weak men. You start erasing names, deleting messages that once defined your worth. You learn the cost of attention. It drains energy faster than betrayal ever did. Solitude becomes sacred. You no longer fear being alone, you fear being distracted. The chaos that once ruled your mind now bends to your command. You eat, work, move with purpose. There's no reward for it, no applause. That's the point. Greatness isn't born in light. It's forged in dark corners where no one claps. The old you would have begged for validation. The new you studies the art of being underestimated. You hide your progress behind quiet eyes and steady breath. People think you've vanished, but you're only camouflaged, evolving beneath their notice. Each task becomes a ritual, each hour a weapon. The grind isn't about becoming better than them. It's about becoming untouchable. When you move now, it's with intent so sharp it cuts through time itself. You stop chasing people who never cared to stay. You stop explaining silence. They mistook your stillness for defeat, but it was gestation. What they buried, you turned into armor. What they mocked, you turned into fire. They live loud because they fear the quiet. You live quiet because you control the storm. In this phase, pain is no longer an intruder, it's a teacher. Every repetition, every lonely night carves something ancient into your soul, something immortal. And when you rise again, they won't recognize you. Not because you changed, but because you became the version of yourself they never believed could exist. The grind doesn't give glory, it gives clarity. It kills weakness and silence. It teaches that power isn't taken, it's earned through the unbearable. You learn that the world doesn't hand crowns to those who shout the loudest. It bows eventually to those who worked in shadows long enough to become the darkness itself. They thought you'd vanish quietly, dissolve into the shadows they pushed you into. But the thing about darkness, it doesn't just swallow, it forges. Every humiliation you endured, every door slammed in your face, every whispered betrayal behind your back, it all became heat. And that heat did what comfort never could. It burned away the parts of you that begged for mercy. It refined you into something they no longer recognized. You were once soft-spoken, afraid to offend, terrified of loss. Now your silence carries more threat than their loudest insults ever could. They don't know what it took. The nights where sleep felt like surrender. The mornings where your chest hurt from the weight of unspoken rage. You learned to stay still while everything inside screamed for vengeance. You learned that real revenge isn't loud. It's the quiet act of becoming unrecognizable to your past. You stopped reacting. You started building. You stopped explaining. You started moving. Discipline became your religion. Pain became your compass. Every repetition, every scar, every ounce of control, it was all sacred. The world mocked you for vanishing, but they never understood that withdrawal wasn't weakness. It was war strategy. You no longer fight people. You fight your old self. The one who tolerated disrespect, who mistook attention for love, who begged to be understood. That version of you died somewhere between your last breakdown and your first calm breath. You buried them in silence. You didn't need closure, you needed clarity. That's what the fire gave you. Clarity sharper than any blade. You began to see through masks, through flattery, through pity disguised as concern. You realized some people never betrayed you. They just revealed themselves, and so you hardened, not out of hatred, but precision. You learned that compassion without boundaries is self-destruction. That empathy without discernment invites predators. You stopped bleeding for unworthy causes. You became selective, calculating, almost cruel in your restraint. But beneath that stillness, something ancient awakened, the instinct of survival dressed as serenity. You began to move like fire does. Without permission, without apology, without warning. People feel it when you enter a room now. The temperature shifts, the air grows tense. They sense the storm inside, the calm, the flame behind the stare. They used to call you broken, now they call you dangerous, because you mastered what they fear most, control. You don't chase power, you emanate it. You don't threaten, you embody consequence. Every scar they gave you now gleams like gold in the right light, proof that you suffered, adapted, and refused to die. They thought the fire would consume you, but you learned the truth. You were the fire all along, and that realization, that silent ignition inside your soul, is the reason they'll never dare test you again. They used to whisper your name like a joke. Now, they whisper it like a warning. The air changes when you walk in, not because you demand it, but because power always carries a scent. They remember the version of you that begged, explained, tried to fit in. But that person is gone. You buried them quietly, without ceremony. No tears, no goodbyes. The funeral was held in silence, inside your own mind. You learned something in the ashes. The loudest revenge is not anger, it's indifference. You stopped chasing fairness the moment you realized the world runs on hierarchy, not justice. So you built your own. Every insult became a blueprint, every betrayal a brick. You turned mockery into mathematics, calculated, precise, unshakable. While they were laughing, you were plotting. You studied their patterns, their weaknesses, their arrogance. And when they finally looked away, you moved, slowly, patiently, like time itself was your ally, because it was. You became fluent in silence, a language they never learned to fear until it started speaking through your results. Now they see your name again, but it doesn't bring amusement. It brings unease. They don't clap for you out of pride. They clap because they can't compete. You walk differently now, not faster, not louder, just with purpose. Every step a reminder that you survived without their permission, that you rebuilt everything they tried to destroy. You don't correct their stories anymore. Truth doesn't need your defense. It just needs time. And time always exposes who was real, who was desperate, and who was never built for the storm. You learned the art of moving like smoke, ungraspable, uncontainable. You no longer need the throne they once mocked you for losing. You became the throne. Power stopped being about position. It became about presence, about the quiet authority that comes from knowing you owe no one an explanation. Your silence unnerves them now. They mistake it for emptiness, but it's strategy. You let them talk while you build. You let them doubt while you rise. Because you understand what they never will. The loudest noise dies fastest, but silence echoes for centuries. They used to think breaking you was victory. Now they understand. It was initiation. You didn't come back to prove them wrong. You came back because destiny demanded a witness. You wear composure like armor, patience like a blade. You smile less, not from bitterness, but from awareness. Not everyone deserves to see your peace. You've become the storm they warned others about. Not chaotic, but controlled. Not angry, but absolute. And the most dangerous part, you no longer want revenge. You became it. The storm has passed, but the silence it left behind is heavier than thunder. You walk through a world that once screamed your name in mockery, now too afraid to whisper it. There's no applause, no spotlight. Just a stillness that feels almost sacred. You wear it like a crown no one sees, but everyone senses. They look at you differently now, not because you're louder, but because you've become unreadable. The chaos that once ruled your mind now kneels before your calm. You've learned the final truth: power doesn't announce itself. It waits, it watches, it chooses when to move. Once you begged for understanding. Now you let silence speak for you. That silence, it unnerves them more than your rage ever did, because people can defend against anger. They can argue, deflect, dismiss, but silence makes them face themselves, and that's something most can't survive. You learn to weaponize it. Every unanswered message, every unreacted insult, every calm stare, each one is a mirror you hold up to their weakness. You've stopped needing to be seen, because real power isn't visibility. It's influence without presence. There was a time when you mistook peace for boredom. Now, you understand its control. You no longer chase storms. You create weather systems and let others drown trying to predict your next move. You move with restraint, like a blade that never needs to swing to remind everyone it's sharp. You speak less, observe more. The old you screamed for closure. The new you knows some stories earn their ending only when you stop explaining. You've become both the question and the silence after it. They don't understand what you are now. They sense danger, but they can't name it. You've become an equation that no one can solve, too calm to provoke, too composed to manipulate. The same hands that once built your cage now tremble when they see you free. They whisper you've changed. No, you haven't. You just stopped being available to your own destruction. You started listening to the part of you that doesn't speak in words, only in certainty. You walk differently now, not faster, not prouder, but heavier, like someone carrying unseen history. Every betrayal carved symbols into your soul, lessons written in a language only the broken can read. You learned that some wars end not with victory, but with silence, a silence that echoes longer than any scream. You became your own empire, built on restraint and precision. And now when they see you, they don't see a survivor. They see the ghost of everything they tried to destroy, still standing, still watching, still here. And though the world no longer dares to test you, sometimes, in the stillness of your own mind, you feel it. The faint hum of the old battlefield calling your name, not as a challenge, but as a reminder. Peace is not the absence of war, it's the mastery of it.